Hi, hello, and welcome, or welcome back, I suppose. Today we are looking at something that I should have gotten into ages ago. It's been a few years since I watched the film adaptation of this book, and have always meant to read the source, not least of all because the film only adapts Volume 1, and I needed more. However, Volume 1 is still all I'm going to be talking about today as I sit and chat about Akira, Volume 1 by Katsuhiro Otomo. First thing, before I talk about the story or anything like that, the version I have is adapted and localized to read more like Western graphic novels, which I found kind of odd. I'm very used to reading manga translations right to left at this point. It low-key caught me. Why can I never say caught? I always say coat, and I don't know why. Anyway, it caught me off guard. I'm sure this isn't the only localization that does it, but it is the first time I've seen it, and because I am going to be showing a few pages from the book, it is important for you to know that going in. So, one of my favourite things about the way the Otomo tells this story is through his use of paneling. Now, I know that sounds a bit odd, because I'm generally going to talk about what's in the panels, talk about character work, plot devices, all that sort of stuff, but the layout works to tell the story as much as what's actually on those panels themselves. There are a few cases where you see the left and right pages playing off each other really nicely, either as more direct parallels. There are a few pages where Kaneda and Tetsuo are sort of very literally playing off one another. It looks like they're almost doing exactly the same thing, or they'll be mirrored, that sort of thing. But you also get these opposites, and it's so clear that that is done intentionally, and I just think it's so stunning. This one, I think, is my favourite, this one here. There's so much noise on the left. It's brash, busy, and chaotic, and we effectively hard cut to the right page. It's so empty, so quiet. It's like when you're watching a film, especially in the cinema, and there's huge crashing sounds, it's big bangs, it's loud music, there's this big cacophony, followed by a pervasive and sudden silence. It's that in a visual format that is a objectively silent format, and that is so impressive to see being played out. It's almost the opposite of what Ito does. I've spoken before about the way he uses a page turn to jump scare you with a disturbing image, but here we see instead a level of chaos being dampened in an instant. I think it's so beautiful and so fantastic. I am awestruck about the way he uses the literal format of the page. I think it's just incredible. And the thing is, throughout, I think the reason that this one stuck out to me so much is that this is a visually very loud manga. It is an action piece, and it's great. It fits so well within its genre, and I do wonder sometimes what the difference would have been because of the way the action plays out. I wonder what the difference would have been if I'd read this for the first time as a teenager, because it is definitely one of those where there are moments where it is so stark just how young our lead characters are. Like, with the setting that they're put in, with Kaneda and... I'm sorry about if pronunciations are wrong here. But with Kaneda and Tetsuo both only being 15 years old, were this in the UK, they'd just about be doing their GCSEs, and in some scenes that is so stark. And I want to be clear, that is not a criticism. This is a book full of youthful hubris, best served with having teen leads. I think especially teen boys, to be honest. There's something particularly about the way that their hubris leads the narrative. It hits different reading a book like this when you've got more than 10 years on the leads, though, rather than reading it around the same age as them. I do wonder how this would be different for me were it a reread, because I think it might hit me harder than it did reading it, like just how stark that is. Like rereading anything from your childhood which has that level of danger to it, something, you know, I love the film Coraline, I still do, despite, you know, who wrote the book. You know, obviously I read Cirque du Freak last year, and there's that same thing of rereading it as an adult going, oh my god, everybody in this is a child and I'm scared, and there's a protective nature to it. Now I don't know that I did feel that as much in this, but there was still a moment, but there was more than one moment of me going, oh my god, these are kids. But this was hard hitting, much more than I expected in general. Like, it's been a while since I've watched the film adaptation, so it is hard to remember how the emotions were. I watched that when I was in late uni, I think, maybe during third year of my masters, but I mostly remembered the visuals rather than the story in general. I love watching the behind the scenes stuff. There's some beautiful scenes in that behind the scenes stuff. I don't know why I phrased that like that, but I think about this all the time. Whenever I think about Akira, this is what I think about. I think about the behind the scenes moment where they're painting in individual lights into the backgrounds, and like the apartment blocks, and they're painting like individual little windows with the lights in it. It just makes me go, ah. But yes, this hit me very hard, and I think part of that is because of the way that the action picks up so fast, and you kind of feel like you're being whizzed about the place at high speeds, and I absolutely love it. The weird stuff also almost immediately starts as well, with the appearance of the freaky little old man child. No, I can't explain that. And that adrenaline-fueled high pace only continues throughout with very little downtime, and I'm all for it. I recently read volumes 6 to 11 of Chainsaw Man in one day. I just spend the day reading stuff, but I read that in pretty quick succession, and that gives you a clue of the action-packed stuff I am down for. And I especially love it if you hand me some weird shit and occasional light moments to balance it all out. This book, meaning Akira rather than Chainsaw Man, got that as well, this hit all of the right beats for me. The action is high octane, the comedy is well timed and doesn't cut in at the wrong moments, and the weird shit is, well, really fucking weird. Those old people kids actually really kind of freak me out, and Tetsuro's powers are terrifying. The way he warps that clown gang member's skull is grade A grim, and I love that it's grade A grim, but I did reel back in my seat a little. I am definitely going to have to read further volumes though, because while I did manage to get some connection going with the characters, I certainly didn't click 100% yet. The character work is fun, and while Kameda is a little bit of a lech, he is funny and he's gung-ho, and I do want to see more of him. I do love a character that is do think first, refuse to think about the consequences later in books like this. Again, in books like this, the story has to be larger than life for that to work for me as a character type, and it fits perfectly here. Kaneda is, generally speaking, not the brightest button in the box in the traditional sense, but when he sets his mind to something, it does feel like he can achieve just about anything, especially if that thing he wants to achieve is a crime. I still think it's weird that he low-key offhandedly asked a girl who just told him she's pregnant if he could watch her give birth, but hopefully the more I read, the more I can look past that, because I do want to see more of him, so maybe I'm already starting to look past it. Similarly, I did not get to see enough of Kay for my liking. She's so cool, and there's so much more to be unpacked regarding her relationship with her brother Ryu. there's very clearly a lot more to learn about her than we got in this volume, and I am really looking forward to seeing how everything gets unpacked. I think her and Kaneda are going to be a really fun dynamic duo, and I can't wait to see how the two of them play off one another. Plus, the character design itself is literally so cool. If I stick with my original plans, it is a panel of Kay that I will be doing a version of for this speed roll, because I just think she's neat. She's also, like, this is not about the design, this is just about her, but she's assertive, she's strong, she's funny, but also she does have a really cool haircut and fashion sense. Everything one needs to make me love a character. Why do you think I love Shadow the Hedgehog so much? My love for the character design does go deeper than just fashion sense, though. There are some really cool subtle details found throughout, especially with the clown gang, that got me really good. So the first time we see the gang, we see one fella with a helmet that looks like this, which, cool as it is, well, frankly, the clown gang's designs all go hard, even without the little detail, and it does look really cool when they get all distorted during some of the more violent scenes. Cool as this is, later on, when he's being worked to the bone, we see his helmet looking like this. And I'm so sure it's him. And maybe I am reaching, but it's gotta be the same fella. I just rather think that this is completely intentional, because that's such a fun little design aspect. It really tickled me. It's like a Wallace and Gromit sight gag. I'm glad I spotted it as well, because I usually miss stuff like this on a first time read, or like with Wallace and Gromit on a first time watch, those sort of things. I do usually miss those sorts of things, but I caught it, I think, because I really loved that helmet the first time round. I was like, oh my god, that's really cute, that's really cool. And it also implies, like, within this sort of kayfabe of the book, it also implies that he intentionally repainted his helmet, or maybe, you know, if he uses decals, change those to reflect him being exhausted by his work, which is honestly kind of cute. I can't lie about that. Also, can you tell what's been out recently and on my mind? Because I'm out here making Shadow the Hedgehog and Wallace and Gromit references wrapped up in a video about Akira, but it would not be a Fall From Reality video without me bringing in unrelated topics. The last thing I will talk about is that I love the big design spreads. There are two that come to mind, so I'll pop them here. There is this one here of the copter, and this one here, which we don't really find out quite what it is yet. Either that, or I missed something, but I don't think we find out really yet, other than that it's something to do with something or someone awakening. But I think a big part of the reason I love these is that I really adore mechanical designs, because I think part of it is that it's not something that I can put my hand to personally. Admittedly, I haven't tried it that much, but there's such a level of detail and complexity that astounds me with mechanical designs that I'll always be in awe of mechanical designs, intricate backgrounds, things like that. One of my friends does really beautiful paintings of just rooms and understands perspective on that sort of thing, and they're always gorgeous, and I love the way I've tried to do a little drawing of my desk space, and it's so many little things, and my brain just goes, ah! But I also just love the scale, like the sense of scale we get with both of these images, and it's handled really nicely throughout. But I just think it's typified, really, with these two spreads here. If you saw this copter or this, like, dome signposted Akira, you would be absolutely dwarfed by them. And I love that you get that sense of perspective without having the view being from the bottom up. And yes, part of this is helped by the fact that the volume I have is somewhere between A5 and A4, but that by no means is doing the majority of the work here. Otomo's design work is incredible in every single aspect, be it the settings, the characters, the action dynamics. I haven't even spoken about that, but even down to the design work of the layout itself, everything fits so perfectly together. When I covered Beastars, I spoke a lot about the ways in which Itagaki uses every tool she has at her disposal to tell a story, and how it makes her one of my favourite mangaka. When I read further along into Akira, I find myself loving the characters incredibly deeply, then I can see Otomo going that same way, becoming somebody who I gravitate towards. And obviously, you know, Akira and Beastars are two very different vibes. I'm just, like, the comparison I'm making here is purely about the craftsmanship of it all. And two very different types of craftsmanship. Like, it's the character design in particular, and the way she uses those to create these dynamics, and there's a lot of beautiful perspective work in Itagaki's stuff, and here it's a lot of intricate design work. Look at the stuff that I have shown throughout, these very intricate designs, dynamic movement, like, they're very different, but I'm just talking about the craftsmanship side of things. And I am really looking forward to diving into the rest of this series. It might not be soon. I've got a lot of stuff on my list, but also you guys won't be seeing reviews for it anyway, unless I suddenly find it taking a nosedive, which I doubt. This review simply serves as a way to tell you that I am absolutely bought in. Right now, it isn't going to be like my favourite manga of all time, but it might be the sort of thing where, like, when I read more of this series, it takes up more space in my heart. I also know that I can get later volumes at the library very easily. I've seen them in the manga section, so I'm sure I'll be spending my time with them at some point in the future. I am really glad I finally got around to reading this, man. I'm also overdue a rewatch of the film. I really should rewatch that because it has been a while. It's been a few years. Let me know of any manga classics you've got in your TBR pile, or if you've read something recently that you've always meant to, and did it live up to the expectations? Because this absolutely did for me. Do I still need more? Yes, but I also left the film feeling the same way. Like, I've left both of them feeling exactly the same way, which basically means it fits my expectations. Also, feel free to like, feel free to subscribe, feel free to ring that notification bell and all that other cringe shit I'm supposed to ask you to do in my videos. But most importantly, I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful night, a wonderful whenever you are watching this. Take good care of yourself. Right.